Princess Alira stood at the highest tower of the ancient palace, looking out at the sky. It was once bright, full of colors and energy. Now, the sky looked tired, just like her people. The Illyri race had once ruled 100 worlds. Now their numbers were falling. Their children were born weaker each year. Some didn't survive their first breath. Scientists worked day and night, but hope was slipping away. The Council of Elders met every cycle, arguing and planning, but no solution worked. Many believed this was the end. Some blamed the poisoned moons. Others pointed to the overuse of cloning tech centuries ago. But Alira wasn't ready to give up. She believed there had to be a way. Deep inside the royal archives, old records held stories about ancient contact with other species. Most were long forgotten, but one record caught her eye. It spoke of humans as species from a far-off planet called Earth. The files were incomplete, but they described humans as adaptable, emotional, and biologically rich. Something about those words gave her hope. She summoned her lead scientists and showed them the record. "What this says is true," she said. "Calmly, we may still have a chance." The scientists studied the data. After many solar rotations, one of them, Dr. Selvin, stood before her with glowing eyes. "Princess," he said, "the human genome might repair our damage, but we will need one that matches very specific markers. They must agree willingly. We cannot force this." Alira nodded. "Then let's ask." Within days, a diplomatic message was sent through the ancient beacon. It was risky. Earth might ignore it or worse, take it as a threat. But Alara had no more time for fear. Message reached Earth quietly, passing through satellites and space stations until it arrived in the hands of the United Planetary Council. Back on Earth, news spread fast. People were scared. An alien princess requesting a human for genetic union. Debates began. Was it safe? Was it a trick? Many leaders said no, but others wanted to listen. In a peaceful town near the mountains, Ryan lived a quiet life. Once a diplomat during Earth's colony crisis, he had retired after losing many close friends. Now he spent his time helping local people and teaching children. One morning, while walking near the river, he was approached by two officials. They showed him the message from Princess Alira. "We believe you might be the one she's asking for," one of them said. Ryan blinked. "Me? Why?" "Your genetics match the markers," the official replied. "But more than that, your emotional profile. Your choices during the colony crisis. You put people first. That's what they want. Not just DNA human strength, the kind that comes from the heart." He laughed softly, not out of mockery but disbelief. "You want me to go into space? To help aliens?" "Yes," the other said. "And maybe save a dying race." Ryan didn't answer right away. He asked for time. That night, he looked up at the stars. He remembered the screams, the fire, the children he carried through smoke during the crisis. He remembered the ones he couldn't save. This might be his chance to help again. Maybe this time the ending would be better. The next morning, Ryan said yes. Within hours, a shining Illyri ship descended above Earth's orbit. It looked like silver glass, floating with no sound. A soft blue beam welcomed Ryan inside. He packed no bags. He simply carried a pendant from his mother and a notebook filled with stories. As he stepped onto the ship, saw her Princess Alira. Tall, graceful, her skin shimmered like crystal under the lights. Her eyes, deep silver, looked directly into his. "Thank you," she said softly. "I know this is strange. I know it's not easy." Ryan nodded. "I just want to help. Nothing more." She smiled faintly. "That is already more than most." The ship rose into the stars. Earth disappeared behind them. Ahead, Alara waited. The journey took several days. During that time, Ryan learned much. The Illyri did not just want his genes. They wanted to learn how humans endured pain and still smiled, how they kept going after loss, how they built families from broken places. Alira and Ryan talked each night. She shared her people's fears. He shared his people's failures and hopes. There were moments of silence, but they were not awkward. They were peaceful, as the ship neared Alara, the stars grew dimmer. The planet below looked gray and tired, like a dying flame. But when Ryan looked at Alira, he saw something else's determination. She was not giving up. Neither was he. Through the window, Ryan saw Alara for the first time. The planet looked quiet. Giant crystal forests shimmered in soft light, and wide rivers moved slowly like silver threads across the surface. It was beautiful, but there was no joy in the air. The skies were dull. Cities looked clean but empty. Princess Alira stood beside him. "This is my home," she said. "It was once full of music and laughter. Now, we only hear silence." Ryan looked at her not as a ruler, but as someone carrying a heavy burden. "Maybe that can change," he said gently. As the ship landed, a group of Illyri leaders waited. Their eyes were bright, but their faces were unreadable. Ryan stepped forward slowly. Some stared at him with curiosity. Others frowned. "This is the human?" one of them asked. "Yes," Alira said, willingly. A tall elder stepped forward. His skin was darker than the others, and his voice was sharp. "You bring a stranger to save us, princess. How can a single man do what we could not in centuries?" Ryan didn't step back. He looked the elder in the eyes. "I'm not here to replace you," he said. "I'm here to help if you'll let me." A few murmurs spread through the group. Leah raised her hand. "He has shown courage and kindness already. Give him a chance." The council didn't answer right away, but they allowed him to stay. They led Ryan through the main city. Buildings were tall and clear, made from glowing stone and soft light. The streets were empty, not because people were gone, but because there weren't many left. Those who remained watched him from a distance. They had never seen a human before. Alira gave him a room inside the royal tower. It was simple, quiet, and peaceful. There was a soft bed and a large window that showed the entire city. Outside, the stars blinked weakly. Ryan spent his days meeting scientists. They took samples and ran tests. They asked questions about his family, his emotions, his thoughts during his hardest moments. They didn't treat him like a lab tool. They treated him like a key, something rare, maybe even sacred. In return, Ryan asked them questions too, where he learned about their biology, their history, and how their people once traveled the stars in song-powered ships. But the songs were gone now. Her genes had grown too tired. On the 5th day, Alira invited him to a quiet garden. It was the last living garden on the planet. Soft blue flowers grew between broken stones. The air smelled of sweet dust. And "Rain, how are you holding up?" she asked. "Better than I expected," he said. "But I can feel the weight on everyone's shoulders." She sat beside him. "My people are afraid. They don't want to rely on outsiders. But they also don't want to disappear," Ryan nodded. "Sometimes pride gets in the way of survival." Lyra looked at him for a long moment. "You're different. Not because you're human, but because you listen." Just then, a soft beep sounded from her wristband. A message from the lab. She stood quickly. "They have something." They hurried to the science wing. The head scientist, Dr. Selvin, met them with a strange mix of hope and worry. "His genome is compatible," he said. "Not just technically, it's almost perfect. The repair rate in our samples jumped by 70% when mixed." "With his cells?" Ryan looked confused. "That's good, right?" "Yes," Dr. Selvin said. "But that also means others will try to stop this." Illyra's face hardened. "You mean the pureblood faction? They believe mixing are?" "Kind with outsiders is betrayal," the doctor said. "They may act soon." Ryan took a deep breath. "So, now what?" "We move forward," Alira said. "Carefully, quietly." The next few days were tense. More people began to learn of the experiment. Some accepted it. Others grew angry. Strange looks followed Ryan wherever he walked. One night a stone was thrown at his door. Didn't break anything, but it left a message scratched in alien script. "You don't belong." Ryan didn't complain. He stayed focused. Day, he gave blood samples, answered questions, and helped the team. The scientists respected him more with each passing hour. He saw his calm nature and his honest answers. He wasn't pretending to be a hero. He was just trying to help. One evening, the royal tower shook. Alarms rang out. Guards rushed in. Had tried to overload the gene chamber. It was sabotage. Alira's voice was strong as she gave orders. Lock down the lab. Protect the data. Ryan stood beside her, ready to help. Together they ran toward the chamber. Inside, smoke filled the air. 2 scientists were injured. Machines sparked and burned. But one screen still worked. The main sample Rian's was untouched. Alira sighed with relief. Then she turned to him. You saved it, oh, he said. They failed to break it. There's a difference. Guards arrested 2 suspects from the pureblood faction. The attack made the council realize something important. Change was already happening, whether they liked it or not. That night, Alira called a full council meeting. She stood before her people with Ryan at her side. We are not replacing our kind, she said. We are strengthening it. This human did not come with weapons. He came with hope. He stood by us when we doubted him. We cannot ask for a better ally. Some council members looked down in shame. Others clapped softly. Ryan simply said, I'm not your answer. I'm just part of it. The rest is up to you. The princess smiled. The first real smile in a long time. They had taken the first step. The sky stayed dim, as if the planet itself was tired. But inside the royal tower, something had changed. Energy filled the halls. After the sabotage, the council had seen the truth. Fear could no longer lead them. Hope had to. The genetic team, led by Dr. Selvin, restarted the core project. They moved the gene fusion process to a secret lab deeper underground. The pureblood faction had gone quiet, but no one trusted the silence. Guards were doubled. Only a few trusted workers were. Allowed near the project, Ryan worked closely with them now. He asked questions, took tests, even helped adjust old machines. He wasn't a scientist, but he had ideas. It's the simple ideas that helped in surprising ways. Sometimes, he said while fixing a scanner, a broken tool doesn't need to be replaced. It just needs to be used differently. That line became a quiet saying among the lab crew. They began calling him the different key. Princess Alira watched all of this from behind a glass panel. She saw how Ryan gave strength not just through his genetics, but through his spirit. He treated every scientist with respect, no matter their rank. He helped injured workers, cleaned spilled fluids, and stayed late without being asked. One evening, she entered the lab with a small metal box. I brought something, she said. Ryan looked up, wiping his hands. What's this? An old memory crystal, she replied. It holds songs from before the silence. I thought maybe it would help. She placed it in the center of the room. A soft blue light filled the space, and music began to play. It was unlike anything Ryan had heard. Gentle, full of emotion, but without words. The scientists stopped working. Even the machine seemed quieter, as if listening to Ryan closed his eyes. It sounds like the stars are trying to speak. Alira smiled. It's what we used to be. From that night, the music crystal stayed in the lab, and slowly, the energy in the team shifted. The work became more than survival, it became a mission of healing. The fusion trials began on the 10th day. They started with small cell mixes. Human and Ilari genes blended carefully. At first, nothing happened. Then one sample showed signs of fast growth. Controlled, balanced, something none of their past work had ever achieved. Dr. Selvin called it Generation Zero. If it stays stable, he said, it could be the base for new life. Everyone waited. Hours passed, then days. The cells didn't break. They grew. On the 3rd day, the sample developed early tissue. It wasn't a child, not even close, but it was something alive. It carried pieces of both worlds. The news spread quickly. Through the palace, people gathered outside the tower not to protest, but to wait. Some brought food, some brought music, instruments long forgotten. It felt like Ilara was breathing again, but not all were happy. Deep in the outer city, the pureblood faction met. In silence, their leader, a strict and angry male named Orvan, slammed his hand on the table. This is not healing, he growled. This is corruption, the younger member asked quietly. But what if it works? Orvan turned to him. Then we lose everything we were. Meanwhile, inside the tower, Ryan prepared for the final phase. The scientists had taken a new sample from him, one needed for the embryo process. It would be placed in a special illuri chamber where life could grow naturally. Without artificial force, Alira stood with him as the team explained the procedure. "Are you ready?" she asked softly. Ryan nodded. "If it gives your people a chance?" "Yes." Before the process began, the council held a ceremony. It wasn't a loud event, just quiet words in the garden. Alira placed her hand over a glowing stone. "We do not forget the past," she said, "but today we choose the future." Ryan stepped forward and placed his hand next to hers. Light rose from the stone, and the sky above cleared for the first time in months. After the ceremony, the embryo was sealed in the growth chamber. A small pulse of light blinked on the display. Life had begun. But while joy filled the tower, danger crept closer. Orvin and his group planned one final attack. They knew the chamber was protected, so they aimed higher at Ryan. They believed if they removed him, the project would fail. Alira received a warning from one of her spies. "They're coming tonight," the spy whispered. For him. She didn't waste time. She ran to Ryan's room. "Get up," she said. "We need to move." "What happened?" he asked. "Someone's coming. They want to stop the project. We can't let that happen." They left through a hidden passage that led under the palace. The walls glowed dimly as they ran, shadows following behind. In the distance, sounds of a struggle began. Guards fought. Off attackers in the upper halls, Ryan and Alira moved quickly through the tunnels. They reached the inner garden, where the embryo chamber was hidden in a crystal vault. Soldiers stood outside, ready. "Stay here," she told Ryan. "You're the key. You must survive." "I'm not leaving you," he replied. Before she could argue, the sound of footsteps echoed nearby. Orvan appeared with a group of masked followers. "This ends now," he shouted. Alira stepped forward. "You have no right, you gave up our bloodline," he snapped. "You betrayed us." But before he could give the attack order, Ryan spoke. "No one betrayed anyone," he said calmly. "You're scared, I get it, but look around. Your skies are dying, your people are fading. And now you want to destroy the only hope you have?" Orvin hesitated. "I'm not your enemy," Ryan said. "I didn't come to take anything. I came to give. You can't fight the future forever." His words hit hard. Some of Orvin's men looked down. One even dropped his weapon. Alira stepped beside Ryan. "This is your last chance," she told Orvin. "Stand down, or be remembered as the one who ended us." Orvin growled, but saw he was losing control. Finally, he turned and walked away. The attack stopped. The embryo continued to grow in peace, and that night, the stars above Ilarat blinked a little brighter. The next morning, the sky above Ilara was light gray, not dark for once. A thin beam of golden sunlight touched the palace wall. No one spoke of it, but everyone noticed. It was a small change, but to a dying world, it felt like a promise. Inside the crystal vault, the embryo pulsed with quiet life. The growth chamber was surrounded by soft lights and slow music that echoed like heartbeats. The energy inside was delicate. The fusion between human and Ilrai genes was still new, but it was holding. Princess Alira stood at the entrance, her eyes fixed on the small glowing shape. It looked like a star trapped in glass. Ryan came beside her. "Act alive," he whispered. She nodded. "Act. And stable. Our scientists say it's stronger than anything we've seen in centuries." He looked around. "How long until it becomes something real?" 40 days, she replied. "If nothing goes wrong." Ryan crossed his arms. There'll be more who try to stop it." "Yes," she said, calm but tired. "But we're ready this time." She turned to him. "Thank you, Ryan, not just for coming, but for staying." "I don't quit when things get hard," he said with a small smile. She smiled back. Just for a moment, then looked away. The next few days passed slowly. The palace returned to normal. Orvan had disappeared. No one knew where he went. His followers had scattered. The council had finally accepted the project, though not all welcomed it with joy. Still peace returned. Ryan kept busy. trained with the palace guards, learning Ilari defense methods. He visited schools, met with children, and answered their questions. Do humans dream? One child asked. All the time, Ryan said, smiling. Sometimes we even wake up with answers. Do your people believe in stars? Another asked. We used to, he replied. Maybe we still do. Princess Illyra watched from afar as her people slowly began to see Ryan as more than just the human. He became part of them. His presence brought something that had been missing: warmth. One day, she invited him to the Hall of Roots, the oldest part of the palace. Large crystal vines wrapped around tall columns. The floor was made of stone carved by hand, thousands of years ago. This is where our first leaders once stood, she said. Before ships, before machines. They swore to protect life, no matter the cost. Ryan ran his hand along the wall. Funny. Humans have something similar. Old places filled with promises. And broken ones, she asked softly. He looked. At her? Yes, but we learn from them. Sometimes too slowly, but we try. She studied his face. I wonder what kind of child will be born from this. A new kind, he said. Not just made from USB, guided by both. Later that night, a strange signal was picked up near the city border. Small ship landed in the dust fields, far from any village. It didn't respond to messages. Illyra ordered a patrol team to investigate. Ryan asked to join. The team moved quietly through the shadows. The desert wind howled across the plain. When they reached the ship, it was empty. But symbols were painted. On its side, symbols from the Pureblood faction. This is Orvan's doing, one soldier said. They checked inside. No weapons, no crew, but something beeped from the control seat. Ryan stepped closer. Small device blinked red. It's a tracker, he said. Someone's watching us. They removed the device and destroyed it. But the message was clear. Someone was still out there. Still waiting. Back in the palace, Illyra met with her security officers. Increase all defenses around the vault, she said. No one enters without my voice. Ryan sat beside her. Do you think Orvan will come back? He won't stop? She replied, not while he believes he's right. Then we need to change his belief, Ryan said. She tilted her head. You think we can? Maybe not with force, Ryan said. But maybe with truth. The next morning, Ryan did something bold. He asked for access to the central broadcast tower. I want to speak to everyone, he said. The council was nervous. What will you say? One elder asked. Just the truth. They agreed. Ryan stood before the camera. The image was sent across the planet. People from every corner watched, some with hope, some with anger. He spoke slowly, clearly. I know. I don't belong here. I know I look different. But I didn't come here to change you. I came here because you asked, because someone here believed in one more chance. He looked straight into the lens. Your princess didn't ask for power. She didn't ask for war. She asked for life. And that's what this child will be, a piece of your survival. It's not just from my DNA, but from your will to keep going. He paused, letting the words sink in. If you reject me, I'll leave. If you destroy the chamber, I won't fight. But remember, sometimes the future knocks only once. The screen went dark. Silence followed. Then across the cities, some Ilaris stepped out of their homes. Some carried flowers. Some lit candles. Others simply stood in silence. But no one raised a weapon. Even in the shadowed places, where Orvan's name was still whispered, people began to wonder, could he be wrong? Inside the vault, the embryo still glowed. The heartbeat continued, and hope grew stronger. The vault now felt like the heart of the entire planet. Each day, the scientists checked the signals, the pulse, the growth. And each day, the results stayed clear. Everything was stable. Not just stable, but thriving. Inside the growth chamber, the child formed slowly, layer by layer, guided by both Illyri and human design. It didn't grow like normal. It grew with purpose. Its cells were stronger, cleaner, and more balanced than anything the Illyri had ever seen. Princess Illyra stood. At the vault's edge every morning, she no longer wore her royal cloak. Instead, she dressed simply, like the scientists. She no longer wanted to be seen as a ruler. Now she wanted to be a guardian. Ryan was always nearby. He'd become a symbol not just of the child's origin, but of the connection between two species. People had started calling the chamber the bridge, because it linked more than just genes, it linked worlds. One evening, Dr. Selvin gathered everyone in the lab. "We have reached the final phase," he said. "The embryo is ready to be born." No one spoke for a moment. The words felt too big. Ryan looked at Alira. "Is it really happening?"
Dad.
She nodded. "Yes, the child is ready." But before they could celebrate, an emergency alert flashed across the control screens. Unknown movement was detected near the outer wall of the city. Several ships had broken through the sky shield. Small, fast, and silent. Alira single quotes as eyes narrowed. They had returned. Within minutes, the palace guards were in position. Ryan joined the defense squad. Even though he wasn't a fighter, he wanted to stand with them. The chamber could not fall now. It's not when they were so close. The purebloods attacked in small groups. They didn't come with large weapons or armies. Instead, they tried to sneak in, using old passages and broken vents. But the guards were ready this time. Still, the palace shook. The battle reached the lower halls. The lights flickered. Alarms screamed. Inside the lab, Dr. Selvin made a decision. "We must begin the release procedure now," he said. "Is it safe?" Scientist asked. "It's safer than waiting." The chamber's crystal casing began to open slowly, soft. Light spilled out and steam curled from its edges. Inside, the child moved gently, its tiny form resting peacefully. It looked part Illyri, part human, but fully new. Alira watched with wide eyes. "It's beautiful." Then came a deep rumble. The outer door of the vault shook under pressure. Ryan stood at the door with 3 guards. "They're trying to break." "Buy us time," Dr. Selvin said. "Just a few more minutes." Ryan nodded. "You'll have it." Outside, the pureblood fighters pushed hard. They shouted words of anger and fear. "Illyra does not need humans," one cried. "We are strong without them," shouted another. Ryan didn't argue. Instead, he held his ground. "Not with violence, but with presence." "Then why are you here?" "To destroy hope?" he asked calmly. His words made some hesitate. He'd been trained to fear humans, but Ryan didn't look like a monster. He looked tired, brave, real. Just then, a sound filled the vault. The baby had let out its first cry. A sound that echoed across the halls like music. Everyone froze. Even the attackers stopped. Alira stepped forward, holding the newborn wrapped in soft silver cloth. Skin was light blue with gentle human features. Its eyes were closed, but its breathing was steady. "It's alive," she said softly, and perfect. Ryan smiled through tears. "You did it." "No," she whispered. "We did." The cry echoed again, and something strange happened. The sky outside began to shift. The clouds opened slightly, and a ray of real sunlight touched the palace spire. It was not a strong light, but enough to bring warmth to the cold stone. The purebloods, still at the gate, lowered their weapons. One of them dropped to his knees. "This child, it's real." Ryan nodded. "Real and strong. Stronger than hate." Princess Alira stepped outside the vault, holding the child in her arms. "This is not the end of the Illari," she said. "This is our new beginning." Orvin appeared from the shadows. His face was filled with pain and confusion. "We were trying to protect our people," he said, "not destroy them." Ryan looked at him, calm. "Then don't fight the future. Join it." Orvon looked at the child. He stepped forward slowly, then dropped his weapon. "I was wrong," he whispered. The battle was over. In the days that followed, no more attacks came. Instead, gifts arrived at the palace, crystals and messages of peace. Across the planet, people celebrated not with loud cheers, but with quiet songs and open hearts. The child was given a name that meant light from 2 worlds. Both human and Illyri traditions were used in the naming. The child belonged to both peoples, symbol of unity. Ryan did not return to Earth. He chose to stay on Illara as a guide, a friend, and a protector. He didn't see himself as a hero, just someone who said yes when others turned away. Princess Illyra visited him often. Sometimes with the child, sometimes just to sit in silence. "Our skies are changing," she said one evening. "So is everything else," he replied. And in the heart of a once fading planet, life had begun again. Illara was no longer the silent, dying world it once had been. Life had returned. It's not just to the cities and skies, but to the hearts of its people. The wind carried the scent of blooming fields. Children laughed in the streets again. The sky, once dull and gray, now held shades of gold during sunrise. In the royal tower's garden, a child played near a tree that hadn't bloomed in 100 years. His name was Arian, meaning light between worlds. His skin shimmered faintly, like the Ilari, but his eyes were deep brown, earth-colored. He ran with energy, fast and full of wonder, always asking questions and never afraid of the answers. Princess Illyra watched him from a stone bench, her expression calm and peaceful. Her heart had grown lighter since the day he was born. Still carried the weight of leadership, but it no longer felt like a burden. Now, it felt like purpose. Ryan walked beside her, holding a wooden carving he had made for Arena, small globe, half Earth and half Illara. "He's growing fast," he said, smiling as Arian chased a glowing insect. "Faster than expected," Illyra replied. "And smarter than most. And curious," Ryan added. "Very human." Illyra laughed softly, and very Ilari. They sat in silence for a while, watching the boy. He had changed everything. Not just through his existence, but through what he represented: unity, healing, a path forward. The High Council had also changed. Many old members had stepped down, making way for younger minds. The pureblood faction no longer had influence. Orvan, once their leader, now worked in the archives, helping preserve history and teaching that fear must never guide the future again. The vault where Arian was born had become a memorial, not of war or pain, but of peace. People from all across the planet came to see it. Some brought children. Others came just to say thank you. Ryan had become more than a symbol. He was a mentor, a storyteller, and sometimes a quiet advisor. He never asked for power. He never wore a title. He spoke, people listened. One evening, Arian ran up to him with bright eyes. "Papa Ryan, tell me again how I came here." Ryan knelt down and smiled. "You came from hope. Your mother believed her people could be saved, and I just said yes." Arian tilted his head. "Why did you say yes? Weren't you scared?" "Yes," Ryan replied. "But being scared doesn't mean you say no. Sometimes the scariest choice is also the right one." Aaron nodded slowly, thinking hard. "One day will I have to say yes to something scary?" "Maybe," Ryan said. "But you'll know when it matters." Illyra watched them from the steps. Her heart warmed seeing the bond they shared. Marian had not come from love in the usual way, but he was loved deeply by all who knew him. Later that night, a large gathering was held in the central city square. It was the first Unity celebration, now a tradition held every year on the date of Arian's birth. Thousands gathered, lights floated in the air. Music filled the streets, not the old kind, but a new sound that mixed Illyri tones and human instruments. Illyra stood on the stage with Arian beside her. Ryan stayed in the crowd, as always, away from the spotlight. 10 years ago, Illyra spoke to the people. We stood on the edge of ending. Now, we stand at the beginning of something new, not because of power, not because of technology, but because we dared to trust one another. She placed a hand on Arian's shoulder. "This child is not a tool. He's not a symbol. He's a person, and he carries in him the strength of two worlds." Arian stepped forward. "I don't remember being born," he said with a nervous smile. The crowd laughed gently. "But I know this. I want to be the reason others keep going. Like they did for me. The crowd cheered. Some cried. Ryan wiped his eyes quietly in the back. He wasn't a man who liked attention, but in that moment, he felt something deep peace. For the first time in years, he didn't feel broken or tired. He felt complete. After the celebration, Lyra found him near the fountain. "You've given us so much," she said. He shook his head. "I didn't give you anything. I just stood with you." "And that made all the difference," she said softly. He looked up at the stars. They were brighter now. "I wonder what comes next." Lyra smiled. "We rebuild, we share, we explore. And maybe one day, we'll do for others what you did for us." He chuckled. "Be careful. Helping others can turn quiet lives into grand adventures. Then may all our lives be full of such adventures." She replied as the night grew quiet. Arian lay in bed, staring out his window. He didn't understand everything yet. But he knew he was different. And he knew he was loved. He whispered to the stars, "I'll be strong. Like Mama. Like Papa Ryan." And the stars blinked back, as if saying they believed him. And so, on a once-forgotten world, under a sky that had once turned cold, life began again, not through force, not through fear, but through choice, courage, and the joining of hearts across galaxies. The child of two worlds had been born, and through him, galaxy changed forever.